Hey folks. So, I've been hearing a lot of people say that Echoes of Wisdom has come and gone already, from players struggling to find discussion about the game, to creators feeling like there's no point in making videos anymore. Well, I'm not about that. If there's something I want to talk about and believe is interesting enough, then I'm gonna. It shouldn't be all about how many people will see this. If you want to yap, then yap. But in fairness, it isn't wrong that the overall coverage and interest of this game has already begun to decline. But why is this? Echoes of Wisdom, in my opinion, and most other fans I've talked to, is that it's a brilliant game. It has cool lore, an awesome story, and some of the most creative mechanics that make for amazing puzzles and traversal. So why is Echoes of Wisdom suddenly so forgettable? Well, I think I might know the answer, but it's not a straightforward one word. Instead, I've made this video to break down why I believe Echoes of Wisdom is brilliantly forgettable.
But first, a message from today's not actually a sponsor, but a self-sponsor plug kind of thing. If you're an avid fan of the channel, you may be familiar with The Cave Boys, a wee group of creators made up of myself, Triforce Trends, and Zinc, also known as Adam, Ed, and Johnny. We've done some collaborations and live streams in the past, but now we bring you something more. Something we hope you will enjoy. The Cavecast. 3 lads talking Zelda and more. A podcast-style channel where you can tune in to hear our Zelda hot takes, marvellous banter of course, and all-round absolute nonsense. It's a blast, and I think if you enjoy my videos and the Zelda series in general, then you'll enjoy the Cavecast. Our first episode is already live, and it will be linked down in the description below if you want to check it out now, and we've already recorded more that are on the way. Help us out by subscribing to the channel and dropping a wee like on that first video. I'd really appreciate it. We all would. We love you, appreciate you, and most importantly of all, thank you. Now, on to the video.
Now, as always for a Hyrule Gamer video, be sure to go and grab yourself a delicious snack and drink, folks. Send them in on social media for a chance to be featured right here. Drop a cheeky wee like down below, subscribe if you're new around here, and let's get into the brilliantly forgettable experience that is The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Let's begin by looking at what exactly makes Echoes of Wisdom brilliant to begin with. Before that forgetful factor is even considered, it won't be present for everybody, but it certainly feels like it's there for many. So what makes this game enjoyable? The two main things that stand out to me are the mechanics and the story. The ability to create echoes and also bind to things. These mechanics provided for some of the most creative and enjoyable puzzles in the Zelda series since before Breath of the Wild. The last two games honestly lacked classic, thinking outside of the box puzzles that we'd normally see in Zelda games. Echoes of Wisdom brought these back in spectacular fashion. I felt like I actually had to think about how I was going to solve a lot of the puzzles and problems in this game, actually planning out different ideas to see what could work. A lot of trial and error, from deciding what echo I should create, to if I should perhaps bind to something to maneuver around. There are countless examples of these puzzles, but to name a few of the best in my opinion, I really enjoyed this puzzle towards the end of the Linearu Temple, where we had to keep changing the temperature of the room to progress towards the boss key. I really liked this one towards the end of the game, where Zelda and Link are in the same room, but blocked by a wall in the middle. Zelda needs to help Link climb up to the door by creating echoes to forge a way up for him. These are just two examples, but the game is filled with creative puzzles, some of which, I will admit, I did look up tutorials on how to do it. Yes, shun me, and chase me out of the village, for I am a bogus gamer. However, that just shows how good these puzzles were, not that I am a massive loser. Anyway, there's also the story, which despite being within a so-called smaller Zelda game, top-down, 2D, half 2D, whatever you want to call this, story is surprisingly in-depth with active events, backstory, and very significant lore. A very welcome change to the past two games, where most of the important stuff happens in a time frame outside the one we play in. Echoes of Wisdom gave us a story that we are actually developing ourselves and learning all the details as they happen right in front of us. The lore behind Null and the Rifts especially goes incredibly deep. Oh, and I haven't even mentioned that we play as Princess Zelda this time, instead of Link, which felt a little odd at first just because it was different, but I honestly enjoyed it. I'm even glad that Nintendo didn't just give us Link's set of skills and items and transferred them to Zelda. She has her own skills and items to work with, and that worked incredibly well, especially with the new Echoes mechanics through the Tri-Rod, which are a big part of traversing the world. It was so much fun building random steps made out of beds, boxes, and random rubbish to climb pillars to reach a piece of heart, or get across a river by just making a bridge out of beds. It was all fun and games until you got the water block. Then everything was a wee bit easy. But still, it's really fun to traverse this version of Hyrule. Even creating echoes of enemies for combat was really enjoyable, and a cool change from how it's normally done. I don't think that in any way that the fact that this game is a little different from the norm is why it has been fading out of discussion so soon. I've just listed multiple positives about the game, and I'm sure the large majority of people would agree with me on them. And this is all base level stuff. I could go so much deeper into how cool the lore is, and the nitty-gritty of how these mechanics elevate the world, but the important fact is that generally, they are brilliant. The game is brilliant, there's no questions there, but it does still seem as though the buzz around the game has quickly dwindled. Why is that? Echoes of Wisdom is an amazing game, no doubt, but as you may have noticed, there aren't tons of videos flowing out from creators on the game as you'd normally expect with a brand new Zelda game. Sure, there were a bunch at release, but since then it's really quieting down. Online discussions in general have just slowed down. Naturally, after a new game releases, there is of course a lot of discussion and hype going into the release, and immediate week or so after. But following this period, we get to a stage where most people are just playing the game for themselves, avoiding spoilers online. That's perfectly normal and understandable. It always happens. But for many who did this, and then went online to start talking about the game after beating it, it seems as though the hype was gone after the first few weeks. As odd as it feels to say it, I believe that one big reason for this is because of the game, or rather, games that Echoes of Wisdom followed up. Breath of the Wild was revolutionary for the Zelda series. Then Tears of the Kingdom became the most highly anticipated sequel we've ever seen in the series, both games being massive. Now, whilst Echoes of Wisdom is a fantastic game, compared to what we've just came from for the past 7 years, which that time frame I feel is important to highlight, just how long we've gotten used to this now completely different and smaller game, the attention span for this went very quick, because I think our perspective on how big the game actually is has become a little skewed. Echoes of Wisdom, in my opinion, is a pretty big game for what it is, especially the lore and story packed within, but compared to the past two games, it's tiny. Compared to other Zelda games, it stands tall in my opinion, but we haven't seen those in a long time. The new open-air format of the past two games has, when compared, made Echoes feel tiny, and almost like a spin-off that we just play once and move on. It's quite difficult to adjust to this smaller perspective coming off the two incredibly massive games. I think this change of size and perspective has been very difficult to adjust, and is partly to blame as to why we've been moving on so quickly. Like the title of the video says, Echoes of Wisdom is brilliant. Which is true, but it's also forgettable as we're seeing less and less discussion and videos on it already, just over 2 months since it was released. You'd think this would be prime time for videos, or at least starting to slow down round about now, as lots of people are now fully finished the game, as well as people who didn't get it day one. There's also just the fact that it's a smaller game. The non-fully 3D third-person adventures are always smaller overall. This paired with coming off the back of two of the biggest Zelda games, and Echoes is just easy to move on from, despite being so damn interesting. There are still a few topics I'd like to cover, and plan to cover in the near future, but it does seem as though the peak of Echoes of Wisdom content, discussions, and generally being in the spotlight has already passed. But please do let me know what you think. Is this an overly dramatic view, or is it accurate? If so, why do you feel the interest has dwindled for you? Leave a comment down below and let me know. The game is not bad in any way. It's just a brilliantly forgettable Legend of Zelda game. Thanks a ton for watching, folks. As mentioned earlier, you can hear more about my thoughts on Echoes of Wisdom in the debut episode of the Cavecast over on our new channel, which will be linked below. Please go show us some love over there by dropping a cheeky be like and considering subscribing for future episodes. From myself, Ed, and Johnny. We thank you, very much. The same goes for around here on my channel. It would be massively appreciated if you could drop a wee like down below, as well as subscribing if you're new. A massive thank you goes to my channel supporters across Patreon and YouTube memberships for helping to make videos like this one all the more possible. Supporters get a shout out upon joining, access to my inside scoop posts, and their name at the end of all of my videos. The details can be found in the description if you're interested. My socials are also linked below, including my Discord server, if you'd like to chat to myself and just generally stay up to date with me. Thanks again for watching, folks. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.